Okay, so last we left off, Ayanokoji took one look at his group and he's like, nope. Not happening. So he switches focus to the girls. And you think, okay, great, another scene with Kei. I'm so down for that. Not this time. Ayanokoji needs information no first year has. And given the risk, Kiriyama can't help. Ayanokoji will come at an angle Nagumo will never suspect. Only one person comes to mind. Nazuna, a girl close to Nagumo. Ayanokoji had Kei study her. He understands how she acts and that she's the perfect target. Unlike the other second years, she does not worship Nagumo. We know this from volume 7. Ayanokoji listened in on a conversation between Nagumo and Nazuna, where she turns down his invitation to the council. You'll remember Nazuna drops an amulet, and Ayanokoji returns it to the dorm. That situation will play in his favor. Nazuna has no idea who returned the amulet, so he can use that fact to make contact. It'll seem coincidental, and soon Ayanokoji found his chance. Nazuna went to the washroom, so naturally he followed her, patiently waiting till she's done, and then deliberately walked by her, going, to get her attention. Nazuna turns back and Ayanokoji claims he's seen that amulet before, but says it with minimal interest, even trying to walk away. This gives him plausible deniability. If Nazuna doesn't respond, it'll seem like a random incident, but Nazuna doesn't ignore him. She engages. Because Nazuna recognized our boy, he faced off against Manabu and took Nagumo's heat during winter break. She felt sorry for him, but did wonder if he's trying to hit on her. Ayanokoji asks if she's ever lost that amulet before, and leaves it just at that. He wants Nazuna to figure it out on her own, and she did, realizing Ayanokoji returned her amulet. She happily approached him, though with mixed intentions. You see, there's a superstition tied to this amulet. It's meant to bring people together. Nazuna wondered if they shared a fate. Is that the reason he picked up the amulet? And we get some heavy foreshadowing. For me, this was how I met Ayanokoji Kiyotaka, the day destiny reared its head. But back to the present, Nazuna is shocked to think it'd be Ayanokoji who rescued her amulet. She mentioned she was there when Nagumo approached him. Ayanokoji knows, but plays dumb. He wants her to think he hasn't noticed her till now. Ayanokoji confessed being fast is all he's got. Nazuna sympathized. Nagumo is jealous because Ayanokoji took Nagumo's spot. Ayanokoji sensed no dishonesty in her words, meaning she's not guarded. Time to go all out. He asked how he could get Nagumo off his back. Nazuna laughed, saying, hey, maybe you should just beat him. This told Ayanokoji all he needs to know. Nazuna doesn't see him as a threat, just a cocky first year. So he deliberately played up that image, saying, hey, maybe he should defeat Nagumo. Nazuna burst out laughing, but Ayanokoji's tone wasn't playful, asking if Nagumo's fall would trouble her. He does not want her to think he's joking. He wants her to think he's just some stupid first year. That way she wouldn't even think of reporting this. And even if she does, no one would take it seriously. Nazuna, realizing Ayanokoji isn't joking, warned him. Look here, this isn't something a first year can do anything about. All according to plan. From her own words, she thinks he's harmless, so Ayanokoji can take it to the next level, playing deeper into the persona to get what he wants. He claimed how Nazuna's straightforward, unlike all the other second years who worship Nagumo. It's hard to gather information from them. Nazuna found his words wild, because she is close to Nagumo. Should he really be saying this? Ayanokoji told her to ignore his words. Well, please, just think of it as a first year's nonsense. He moved to leave, but Nazuna stopped him, just like he hoped. Because from Kei's intel, he knew Nazuna's nature. She's dutiful and pays her debts like a Lannister. And as expected, she offered to answer any question as a thank you for returning her amulet. Ayanokoji asked if she's okay with that. He might use it against Nagumo. Frankly, Nazuna didn't think it'd make a difference, so our boy asked away. His first question, just how many girls are intimate with Nagumo? In the second year, like all of them, they trust Nagumo over any boy. Man's got his own harem, I see. Next question, who is likely to act as Nagumo's pawn? Nazuna laughed at first, but answered saying the second years are united. That's how they formed groups so quickly. They used the draft system as Nagumo commanded. However, Nazuna noticed something strange on the girls' side. Within a group especially close to Nagumo, they had a certain request. Ayanokoji knew right away that was Nagumo's task force. Those girls have a mission. He asked if there's anyone anyone notable in that group. The only person is Tachibana. But Nazuna said not to worry. Nagumo promised to play fair. So like Manabu, she had faith in Nagumo. Ayanokoji thanked Nazuna for her help. Nazuna cheered him on. Go give Nagumo a scare. Combining the info he just got with what Kei gave him earlier, Nagumo's intentions became clear. Ayanokoji had one step left. However, back in his room, it was dead silent. At this rate, his group is destined to fail. As Ayanokoji mentioned, Hashimoto is the only hope. And thankfully, man got to work. Hashimoto opened up with a story, one which showed off his vulnerability, how he was part of the soccer club in middle school. Yahiko asked, why isn't he part of it now? It's because he smoked. It alienated him. While his teammates were doing their best to succeed, Hashimoto was caught up in his habit. He felt like he didn't belong. This is a genius tactic by Hashimoto. Instead of asking everyone to open up, he took the first step, giving others the chance to join in. Still, Ishizaki wasn't biting. However, it let Yukimura share his thoughts. And dude opened up about how studying is all he ever did, and influence from his sister. Hashimoto asked questions to keep the conversation going, and boy did that work. Yukimura shared that when he first got here, he knew he belonged in Class A, that the school made a mistake. He was better than the other Class D rejects. But that notion soon came crashing down. The island exam, the sports festival, Yukimura was useless, while Sado, his polar opposite, thrived. He was an asset while Yukimura is dead weight. You can feel the frustration in his words. The school shattered his pride, made him realize academics aren't everything, but neither is sports. Being one-dimensional is no good, especially in this exam. He turned to Ishizaki. If we can't do both those things, we won't be able to obtain a good score. Am I wrong, Ishizaki? Ishizaki almost blurts out, then why did you volunteer to be leader? It's because Yukimura felt humiliated. He wants to be useful, so he took the role no one wants. But even then, he failed. He's a constant liability. He hurt himself, he can't keep up. Even Ishizaki, who complained all the time, did more for the group. Ishizaki felt the urge to mock him, but he held himself back. Yukimura sincerely apologized to Ishizaki for failing to lead them. Yukimura did his best to hold back his tears, but it wasn't working. His helplessness weighed on him now more than any time else. And in the face of this vulnerability, Ishizaki came to grips with his mistake. With a scornful laugh, he told Yukimura to stop apologizing. It was his fault for laying blame. Yukimura took up the mantle when no one else would. Ishizaki didn't like taking orders, but without them, their group would fall apart. Hashimoto laughing agreed, and for the first time ever, they felt like a real group. Earlier, Ayanokoji said Ishizaki is angry because he's mad at our boy. That's not entirely true. I think Ishizaki is far angry at someone else. But like Ayanokoji, he can't take it out on that person. And that person is Ruin. In the past, Ishizaki was a famous delinquent. Ruin made him kneel. He saw Ruin lead them through hell and back, doing things no one had the balls to do. He respects Ruin. But after his defeat, the man he respected above anyone else just gave up, stepped down. Ishizaki found it unacceptable. After bouncing back so many times, how could he give up after one loss to Ayanokoji? He can't understand it, so he bottled these feelings, and without an outlet, took it out on Yukimura, who right now is supposed to be their leader. This is evident when they're cleaning, and Ishizaki yells at Yukimura to take responsibility. He's the leader, right? So he has to fulfill his duty. Yukimura isn't the person he wants to say this to. He wants to say it to Ruin. You took responsibility for our class. You made us do things we never would. See it through to the end. But I think after talking it out with Yukimura, Ishizaki realized something. There's a price to leadership. It's not easy. Every leader has their struggle, and maybe Ruin did as well. Ishizaki's words at the end show signs of growth. In the first place, you accepted the role of leader when nobody else would. I didn't like taking orders from you, but without those orders, the group would probably be worse off. Maybe these words are also meant for Ruin. Only time will tell. As the exam approached, Ayanokoji's group prepped for the relay. They had less members compared to everyone else. But as Yukimura explained, that can be an advantage. The relay is 18 kilometers, and each student has to run a minimum of 1.2 kilometers. Now, in a standard group of 15, that minimum amount will take up the entire distance, meaning faster and slower students run the same distance. So there's no room for adjustment. But if you have 10 students, you can make adjustments. Here's how that goes. Say you line up all 10 students. Give them the minimum 1.2 kilometers each. You've covered 12 kilometers. But like I said, the race is 18 kilometers. So 6 is left over. You can assign that 6 any way you like, meaning you can give it to faster students. For example, having a faster student run 2.4 kilometers instead of 1.2. They'll do better with that distance, giving you an edge. Before Ishizaki would complain, why does he have to do more? But the dude is reformed. He stepped up to take 3.6 kilometers. Hashimoto, feeling the vibe, matched him. Yukimura lowered his head in gratitude. Our boy stepped up too, but told them not to expect much. The only problem? Koenji. He'll run the minimum 1.2 kilometers. But will he run it seriously? If everyone else runs and he walks, they're screwed. Yukimura asked what it would take for Koenji to cooperate. Would private points help? Yukimura is willing to pay if that means he runs. Ishizaki and Hashimoto stepped up as well, offering to pool together their points. But Koenji scoffed at the idea. He doesn't need points. However, after being pestered a few times, confirmed that he'd run the minimum distance seriously. Yukimura is thankful. With the strategy done, they got to cleaning. And again, entire 180. There's no yelling, no arguing. Ishizaki even covered for Yukimura so he can conserve energy for tomorrow. But in return, he better ace the written part of the exam. Everyone teased Ishizaki for becoming so mature all of a sudden. At dinner, Ayanokoji noticed Ichinose. She looked out of it. He asked if she was in trouble. Ichinose denied it, but Ayanokoji pressed her. She turned it on him. What does he think of this exam? Ayanokoji's frank, there's a high chance of expulsion. Ichinose agreed. She's not worried about points. She's worried about her friends. She doesn't want to lose anyone. Ayanokoji asked what she'll do if someone's expelled. But this triggered Honami's trap card. She teased Ayanokoji for being so smart. Ayanokoji acts confused. Ichinose laid it out. Everyone knows expulsion is the end. There's nothing after. But since Ayanokoji asked what would you do if a classmate was expelled, means he's aware of how private points work and that there's a lifeline. That's not public knowledge. Ayanokoji tried excuses but they failed. However, Ichinose's friends cut the conversation short. But Ayanokoji got what he needed. Ichinose's entire personality is off, meaning Arisu made her move. After dinner, Ayanokoji left the cafeteria. Kei lying in wait. She slipped him a piece of paper and left. Ayanokoji walked an appropriate distance, read the note, and then tore it up. Ayanokoji now knew Nagumo's plan. The person in question did their best, but it's the end of the line. Kei told him where this person is hiding, because dinner is the perfect time to be alone. Ayanokoji entered the room, noticing Tachibana crouched down, crying her eyes out. Ayanokoji asked, if you're in trouble, why not ask Manabu? Tachibana panicked, questioning Ayanokoji, but he's not gonna let her change the topic. Tachibana was adamant she's not crying. While, crying. Ayanokoji explained he's on Manabu's side. But that meant nothing to her. How is he gonna help her? Going nowhere, Ayanokoji switched topics, asking if she's worried about the exam. Tachibana lied, saying it's all good. Ayanokoji asked, then why are you crying? Our boy points at her eyes, and she panics. However, they were dry, so Ayanokoji was just tricking her. She shoots him a glare. Tachibana is worried about Manabu. She shared their history. The only reason they're class A is because Manabu carried them on his back, even when his class lost points in the beginning. Even though they were a liability, Manabu fought both the third years and second years on his own. Unlike Nagumo, he never abused his authority. He played 100% fair and square. And because of this challenge with Nagumo, Manabu's class can't help him, which implies Manabu is playing by the same rules he set for Nagumo. Tachibana could not hold back her tears, because she felt helpless. Ayanokoji asked again, are you in trouble? But girl denied it and forbade him from saying anything to Manabu. She then left for the cafeteria. Ayanokoji knew Tachibana is making a mistake. Sacrificing herself means nothing. And unless our boy does something, this was over. Late at night while everyone's asleep, Ayanokoji heard a creak. Hashimoto making his way out. So naturally, Ayanokoji follows, witnessing a secret meeting between Hashimoto and Ruin. All I'm gonna say, Hashimoto, Ruin, and Ayanokoji in the same scene? You know this is gonna be good. Ruin questioned Hashimoto. What does he want? Hashimoto just wants to talk. And since everyone's resting up, this is the perfect time. Hashimoto questioned Ruin. Did you really step down? Ruin laughed, asking, don't you buy it? No, Hashimoto does not. In fact, he can imagine no world in which Ishizaki brings down Ruin. In the shadows, Ayanokoji agreed. Losing to Ishizaki does sound stupid. Ruin made up an excuse, saying he's tired of dealing with them. With the contract in place, he can just sit back and relax. Hashimoto's still unconvinced. He'd personally like Ruin to fight back. Hashimoto is fixated on one thing: staying in Class A. He's willing to betray Arisu in a heartbeat and work for whoever is on top. But for now, Hashimoto's cooperation isn't cheap. He's on the winning team. Ruin wondered just how long Hashimoto can keep this up, playing all sides. Hashimoto claimed it's his specialty, to carve out his own path. But dude is relieved. Ruin's eyes aren't dead yet. Hashimoto got worried when Ruin's class dropped, but after evaluating Class C, he can see it. It would be good to crush them early. If Koenji cooperates, he'll be a menace. Yukimura and Hirata are smart, and Sudo is a beast when it comes to sports. To him, having Class C be formidable is a good thing, because if they ever make it to Class A, he'll just have to find a way in. As their conversation comes to a close, two figures approach them. One called out to the boys. It was Nagumo, followed by Manabu, and even in the face of these two powerful guys, Ruin could not care less. He told Nagumo to get out of his way. Nagumo is fascinated. He's heard of Ruin, quite the delinquent. Nagumo urged both Hashimoto and Ruin to join them. Ruin's like, nope. He bumped shoulders with Nagumo, trying to leave. Nagumo asked Ruin, aren't you scared of me? To Ruin, council president or whatever, did not matter. He'll crush anyone in his path. Nagumo didn't dislike Ruin, but won't have him on his council. As Ruin walks, Nagumo calls out to him. Let's make a bet. Whose group do you think is gonna rank higher? Nagumo's or Manabu's? 10k points on the line. Ruin wasn't interested in chump change. Make the bet 1,000,000 points and he'll consider it. Nagumo found that funny, telling Ruin he's free to leave. But Ruin called him out. If you don't have the balls to pay up at least that much, don't bother asking me to place a bet. Nagumo turned to Hashimoto. Do you think Ruin can actually pay 1,000,000 points? Hashimoto, a bit nervous, played dumb, saying he can't tell. They're in different classes. Ruin left and Hashimoto was about to do the same when he heard the words out of Nagumo's mouth. Nagumo asked Manabu to excuse himself from tomorrow's competition. Manabu confused, asking what he meant. It's exactly that. Don't compete tomorrow. Nagumo claims it's for Manabu's sake. He's showing mercy. Manabu questioned, what are you planning? Nagumo kept it vague, but made the conclusion crystal clear. If Manabu doesn't excuse himself, he'll take a lot of damage. Because no one at this school can read him. Not Manabu, and especially not Manabu's favorite. And who is that favorite? In front of Hashimoto, Nagumo deliberately reveals this. Ayanokoji Kiyotaka. Nagumo questions Hashimoto, what do you think of Ayanokoji? Hashimoto, still processing this, gave a generic answer. Oh, he's a normal student. Nagumo shared Manabu ranks Ayanokoji over all the other first years. Over Ruin, over Ichinose, even over Arisu. The shock on Hashimoto's face. But Manabu cut in. This is fake news. Nagumo is stretching the truth. Manabu never said any of this. Nagumo apologized for his tiny lie, saying it's all a joke. Hashimoto decides to leave, so Ayanokoji does the same. Once settled in, Ayanokoji hears Hashimoto arrive. Hashimoto lies down, but in the quiet darkness, Ayanokoji could feel Hashimoto's gaze. He's now on his radar. From here, the story goes to Horikita's point of view. We turn back the time to dinner, and as Ayanokoji confronts Tachibana, Horikita has her own battle. She entered the shared room and called out to her target, Kushida, who frankly was annoyed Horikita still didn't get it. Kushida's not dumb, for the most part. She kept up her polite persona because you never know who's listening. But she does know why Horikita grouped with her. Acing the exam is secondary. Kushida is Horikita's only focus. Suzune couldn't deny it. Ever since Paper Shuffle, that's how it's been. Horikita's broken all her rules. With zero result, I might add. But Kushida's mind has not changed. Nothing Horikita does will ever matter. Kushida will never trust her. However, Horikita won't give up. She needs to deal with Kushida to move forward. Kushida wondered why. Their deal with Manabu as witness is still valid. Until graduation, Kushida won't act foolishly. So why is Horikita doing this? Horikita had no words. Because deep down, she didn't fully trust Kushida. There's no telling what she'd try. This is an interesting dynamic. Horikita wants Kushida's trust, but doesn't trust her in return. However, Horikita is on a timer. She needs to wrap this up before Manabu graduates. Horikita makes a desperate request for Kushida to trust her, that she won't reveal Kushida's secret. Kushida commended the honesty, but she'll never believe Horikita. And if Horikita ever blabs, she'll bring down the entire class. She's done it before, and she can do it again. Horikita tries reasoning, saying Kushida will be such a great asset, which infuriates Kushida even more. She calls out Horikita. If she didn't know Kushida's secret, she wouldn't take such a mighty tone. And this is what Horikita fails to understand. Even though she's improved, she still can't see things through Kushida's perspective. What the hell does saying you're a great asset do? That's only for Horikita's benefit. It's clear Kushida doesn't care that much about reaching Class A. The reason Kushida will never trust her, it's evident at the very core of her backstory. The reason that drives her every action, pride. Even though Kushida has leverage on Horikita, she can't stand the fact that Horikita has leverage on her. She wants to know everyone's secret, but she doesn't want anyone to know her secrets. That way, she feels special, just like when she was a child. Since in Kushida's mind they can't both exist here, Kushida offers an alternative. Horikita can leave the school. She's smart, she can get in anywhere she wants. And her brother won't be here for long, so there's no reason for her to stick around. Horikita quietly sighed, saying she'll leave it for today. Kushida corrects her. Leave it forever. Horikita felt powerless. Out of all her allies, Ayanokoji is the only one she could trust. But they've grown distant. She knows why. It's because of what happened during winter break. She made Ayanokoji spill the beans in front of Kushida. But either way, Horikita can't back down. She's come this far. She'll do whatever needed to gain Kushida's cooperation. And if that means losing Ayanokoji, so be it. Yeah, not sure about that one, Chief. And now we move on to the main event, the final exam. Ayanokoji's group made massive improvements. They have no regret. Yukimura and Ishizaki shake hands. Really, there's only one reason for concern. Koenji. They will live and die by his cooperation. The exam is divided into 4 categories. Zen, written exam, long distance relay, and speech. Everything they trained for. After breakfast, we dive right in with Zazen. This exam is as holistic as you can get. You're graded the second you walk in. Any misstep equals demerit. And there's a curveball. During practice, you only meditate with your group, but here you're meditating with students from other groups. For example, Ishizaki next to Katsuragi. In an exam where every small detail matters, this can trip you up. Yukimura was anxious, but Albert put a strong hand on his shoulder, calming him. The teachers inspect carefully. They even have cameras. While they're all trying their best, Ayanokoji has a different problem. He can ace every exam blindfolded, but he doesn't want any attention. He has to make a decision. Where can he boost their scores while avoiding the spotlight? He decides to ace Zazen because there's no score, only demerits, so no one will ever know. Koenji doesn't hold back either. Dude killed it, 0 mistakes. Ayanokoji mentions Koenji was never serious during practice. Interesting, right? However, Ayanokoji ran into another problem, namely Hashimoto. Looks like he really is on his radar. Hashimoto asks Ayanokoji obvious questions, like, hey, aren't Ishizaki and Albert acting weird around Ruin? Does he have any idea who he's talking to? This man right here is the king of playing dumb. And Ayanokoji navigates it perfectly, giving Hashimoto 0 intel. Next is the written exam. Ayanokoji inspects the questions, deliberately getting the hard ones wrong and the easy ones right. As a reader, this made me so proud because when he enrolled, that's how Sai caught him. He got easy answers wrong and hard ones right because dude had 0 point of reference. But this scene shows growth. He's learning what a normal person is capable of. I'll bet you money. The tutoring in Volume 6 played a part in this. Just a satisfying payoff. Next is the relay. Ayanokoji knew this determines it all. Buses carried them to the track. Yukimura devised the entire game plan. They would let unathletic students go first because the trail at the beginning is simple. The difficulty ramps up later. Having experienced members tackle tough terrain will yield better results. They even lined up classmates next to each other, like Ishizaki right after Albert. This makes the transition easier while boosting morale. Yukimura even had the foresight to put Koenji last, hoping the allure of the finish line will push him to actually try because Koenji loves glory. Gotta say, hella impressive. Yukimura reminds me of Armin from Attack on Titan. The students get off the bus one by one till it's just Ayanokoji and Koenji. Koenji questions Ayanokoji. If they got first place in the relay, how would their group do? Ayanokoji played dumb, claiming he has no idea. Koenji no longer buys Ayanokoji's act. But the fact that he's still keeping it up, is hilarious. However, he whispered in Ayanokoji's ear, what if he took 1.2 kilometers from him? If he does that, they might win. Ayanokoji questioned what Koenji was up to. Koenji brushed it off, saying it's just a whim. Ayanokoji asked if he'd seriously run. Again, Koenji claimed it's just a whim. Well, if that's the case, Ayanokoji rejects the offer. He'll follow Yukimura's plan. What a pity, Koenji remarks. This deal is in no way worth. Koenji's not convincing, and if he decides not to run properly, everyone will blame our boy, meaning more attention, which is a big no-no. Small reward, massive risk. Koenji praised Ayanokoji for being sharp, but boring. And this is our final piece of evidence. It's not a whim, it's another challenge. Let's do some math. Our boy is running 3.6 kilometers. Koenji is running 1.2. What happens when Koenji takes 1.2 kilometers? Oh, would you look at that? They're running the same distance, which lets Koenji compete with them. We have another hint. Ayanokoji did Zazen perfectly. Do you know who else did? Lion Boy, that's who. I'm being a bit cheeky, but these are subtle hints that Koenji is looking for a challenge, and he wants it from Ayanokoji. They arrive at the track, and Ayanokoji makes small talk with Hirata. As messed up as it is, Ayanokoji knew because of his friendship, he's not in any danger. But if he's being honest, he'd like to make it out with 0 casualties. The race commenced and one by one the batons passed until Ayanokoji notices Ishizaki bolting down the track. He hands Ayanokoji the baton. Ishizaki's exact words, "I'll kill you if you hold back." Oh, big words from Mr. I yell at someone before I attack them. Well, time for our boy to get to work. To be honest, everyone was slow. Ayanokoji didn't even have to run fast. Instead, he chose to match their pace and let them tire out. That way, instead of thinking, oh, he's fast, they'll think, oh, I got overtaken because I'm slow. This distance isn't even enough for Ayanokoji to break a sweat. One by one, our boy overtook the competition and came in third. Ayanokoji passed the baton to Koenji. Their fate relied on him. And although Koenji looked bored out of his mind, he ran normally, taking second place. Looking good. Everyone did well in their speeches. Ending the exam, they got the results right away. Everyone gathered at the gym. The teacher announced with the boys, no one fell below the borderline score, which means there are no expulsions. Yukimura sighed the biggest sigh of relief in human history. Ishizaki gave him props. Their large group led by Nagumo came in second, while Manabu came in first. So it's official, Manabu wins the bet. But in this moment of relief, Ayanokoji felt something ominous. The teacher's words don't add up. Why mention the boys? Why not say there are no expulsions? We're about to find out. Nagumo congratulates Manabu, but Manabu didn't look happy. He just said nothing. Perhaps he caught on to what Ayanokoji was feeling. Manabu's classmates taunt Nagumo, "You've lost." But Nagumo told them to hold on. The announcements aren't over. Everyone was confused. This is over. Nagumo just smiled, going, yeah, it's over for the boys. With those words and Nagumo's demeanor, reality set in for Manabu and his class. The announcements for the girls begin. Horikita's large group comes in first, but there was no time to celebrate. As the teachers mentioned, there will be an expulsion. One group fell below the score set by the school. It was dead silent. At that moment, Manabu looked at Nagumo. His biggest fear came to life. The only way you could describe Nagumo's face is a twisted smile, which screamed, it's too late. The bottom group decided. Now it's a matter of who faces expulsion. They mentioned the expelled student's name, Ikari Momoko, a name that means nothing to no one. But the second her name is mentioned, Nagumo lets out a demented laugh. No one other than him and Ayanokoji knew what was about to go down. Manabu's classmates questioned Nagumo. What did he do? Nagumo told them to chill out. The announcements aren't over. Ayanokoji looked over at Manabu. The fact he won no longer mattered. He realized Nagumo caught him in his trap. Yukimura asked Ayanokoji what's going on. He explains it's not about the leader. It's about who's going down with her. Ikari, facing expulsion, looked calm. Ayanokoji knew the thoughts running in Manabu's head. He did his best, urging his classmates not to be the leader, to avoid the threat of expulsion, but even then knew it won't be enough. So he entertained Nagumo's challenge, to make Nagumo focus on him. Manabu exhausted all options to keep Nagumo's malice at bay, but even he miscalculated the depths of Nagumo's degeneracy. Because from the beginning, Ayanokoji knew this entire exam was one big trap designed by Nagumo. And it wasn't meant for Manabu. Ikari named who she'd take down, Tachibana. yelling out that Tachibana destroyed their harmony. She yelled loud enough for everyone to hear. And Manabu's class starts questioning Nagumo. Wasn't this a 1v1? Nagumo claimed he has nothing to do with this. Ikari left to report her decision, while Ishikura followed her. Manabu called out to Tachibana. Why not consult him earlier? Poor girl broke down in tears. She didn't want to burden Manabu. Ayanokoji knew it wasn't Tachibana's fault. Once the trap is sprung, it's too late. And Nagumo enjoyed every second of this. Taunting Manabu, beautiful friendship or perhaps love would be a better fit. Congratulations, Horikita senpai. Once again, please let me give you my compliments. It's my loss. Nagumo boldly claimed that no one can see through his schemes. Not Manabu, not anyone. Nagumo didn't even take it easy on Tachibana, asking her how it felt to work so hard on the council, coming so close to graduating from Class A, but having it all stripped away. Manabu, however, kept his composure, asking Nagumo why he didn't target him. Nagumo doesn't want to expel Manabu. That would take away his entertainment. He just wants to see the look on Manabu's face when he deletes Tachibana. Manabu, however, did not flinch, calm as a cucumber, saying he did trust Nagumo and thought he'd be man enough to face him head on. Guess he was wrong. The words cut deep. Nagumo declared trust is a currency. He built it with Manabu over time. Although Manabu didn't 100% trust Nagumo, it was still enough to pull off the show. Manabu points out now he's lost that trust. Nagumo could not care less. For him, trust is a tool to discard at his convenience. If he can use it to get his senpai's attention, more than worth it. Well, at least now Manabu knows how low Nagumo's willing to go. Still composed, the tension is all but gone, because both of them know what's about to happen next. Tachibana screamed out to Manabu, wanting to stop him from what he's about to do. Nagumo sighed. He's not a fan of a draw, but he questioned Manabu. Is it smart to pull this now, so close to graduation? And despite Tachibana's begging, Manabu made up his mind. They will use the lifeline. And it wasn't just him. Manabu's leadership was not forgotten. Once he made the decision, his entire class was behind him 100%. They know to which man they owe everything. The choice is unanimous. You don't even need a vote. Nagumo again questioned if that's wise. They'd give up Class A. Did not shake Manabu one bit. If they lose Class A, they just have to get it back. That is the way of this school. And Horikita watched all this go down from a distance, anxious that she can't do a thing. Nagumo's about to explain his plan, but Ayanokoji walks out. He doesn't need to hear what he already knows. And outside, Kei lies in wait, still shocked that things played out exactly as Ayanokoji predicted. Kei questioned him, how did he know it was gonna be Tachibana? Nagumo could choose anyone from Manabu's class. And while that is true, Ayanokoji knew the second Nagumo is involved, this whole thing is a trap. And knowing how Nagumo loves to show off, just anyone won't do. It needs to be a spectacle to satisfy the attention Nagumo craves. And for that, there are a few candidates. One of them, Tachibana. So Ayanokoji had Kei keep tabs on the girls. The information gave him an idea. And with that idea, he studied the girls, watching groups like Hiyori and Ichinose, even collecting information from Haruka and Sakura. The more he got, the more he was sure it's Tachibana. Nazuna's chat gave him the biggest clue. And after having Tachibana followed, confirmed Nagumo's entire plan. The large group ganged up on Tachibana, dropping her performance. Then the entire large group deliberately held back to make sure they'd come in last. From here, if they blame Tachibana, there's no way to prove it's not her fault. However, Kei asked a crucial question. The leader of the large group, Ikari, is from Class 3B. In direct competition with Manabu, won't it be better to use a Class C or D student? Ayanokoji explained the only way it does work is by using a Class B student. Say for example, Tachibana does well. Unless the entire group is against her, Nagumo can't do a thing. It's essential Nagumo has everyone on board. For that reason, the sacrifice has to be a Class B student. Say you put someone from Class D as the leader. Class D isn't looking to get to Class A in one go. They'd rather move up one spot like Class C or B. So last second, they can betray Nagumo. Instead of taking down Tachibana, they might take down a Class C or B student. So if the leader is a Class B student like Ikari, there's no conflict of interest, since her natural enemy is Class A. Also, from the perspective of Class C and D, students expelled from the upper years is a blessing. making it easy to get them on board. Kei asks another great question. Why would someone sacrifice themselves for their class? Are they insane? Ayanokoji corrects her. No one is being sacrificed. Class B will use a lifeline just like Manabu. They'll both lose 300 class points. But the difference is, Class B won't lose 20 million private points because of Nagumo's incentive. For getting Class B to cooperate, Nagumo likely offered them 20 million private points, ensuring they come out ahead. Win-win for both sides. And it's easy for Nagumo to do this. He controls all the second years. He just has to gather 50k points per person. There you go. 20 mil. A strategy only Nagumo can use. Kei had one last question. If instead of Tachibana, it was Kei in that situation, could Ayanokoji save her? For Ayanokoji, it's not even a question. You don't even need to hear my reply. You already know, don't you? I won't let you get expelled, no matter what method I have to use. Now, before I explain what method that is, I have to address a question. A question that's been running through my mind the second I finished this volume. Why did Ayanokoji go so far to figure out what Nagumo is up to? He told us he wants to be a quote-unquote observer to get Manabu off his back. But this is going above and beyond. Even contact with Nazuna is so risky. And for this, I've only found one answer. Remember the goal Ayanokoji said in the beginning? He wants to overcome this exam safely while protecting 3 key targets: Horikita, Hirata, Kei. Right off the bat, Hirata's not an issue. He's on good terms with Nagumo and doesn't even interact with Manabu. Kei's not in danger either. The length these two go to keep their cooperation a secret. No shot. Only Ruin knows of their bond, and he's been taken care of. But what about Horikita? Is Horikita completely in the clear? Actually, let me ask another question. Do you think Nagumo knows of Horikita? That she's Manabu's sister? No big spoilers, but I read ahead. And in their first confrontation, it's not certain if Nagumo knows. But more importantly, would Ayanokoji know that Nagumo is aware of Horikita? Nothing we've read so far indicates that he would. With that in mind, if Ayanokoji wants to cover all bases and keep Horikita alive, it would make sense for him to find out what Nagumo is up to and who exactly Nagumo is targeting. Our first clue is when Ayanokoji is explaining the whole situation to Kei. Ayanokoji states if he intends on giving a far more effective performance, then the targets for that would be a limited few. So Tachibana wasn't the only candidate. And on the girls' side, Horikita fits the bill. Also, when noticing Ichinose's group, Ayanokoji says, with this in mind, it wouldn't be strange for Horikita and Arisu to be in the same group as one another. But that doesn't seem to be the case. Why is he keeping tabs on Horikita's group? Why not also keep tabs on Hirata's group? The only difference I can see, one is an effective target for Nagumo, the other isn't. To me, this answers why Ayanokoji went so far. It was never to help Manabu. It was to make sure Horikita is not the target. If she was, he'd have to act. Now, what if Horikita was in danger? Or Kei was in danger? How would Ayanokoji save them? Let's break it down. Because there is a loophole Ayanokoji can abuse. If you go back and read the rules, you'll know in this exam you can't swap members or withdraw voluntarily. And if you have to retire, it must be due to injury or sickness. What does this remind you of? The island exam. The entire loophole here is a throwback where Ayanokoji swapped out leaders by making Horikita retire. So if Kei was in Tachibana's position, Ayanokoji would have to injure her. That way Kei would no longer be part of the group. So by the end of the exam, when the leader wants to drag Kei down, they can't, because Kei is not a choice. Because when someone retires, the group has to function as if they don't exist. This extends to the penalty. But what if the situation is worse? What if Kei was the leader? The loophole still works. If you look at the rules carefully, there's nothing saying you can't swap leaders. That's by design. Because if the leader retires, they will have to pick a different leader. This idea is proven in a future exam when a similar situation happens. So for now, you're just gonna have to take my word for it. It's just funny. Both times Ayanokoji has to save Horikita, it's by making sure she's in pain. Now, I'm gonna put my tinfoil hat on. Knowing what we know, remember that scene back in part 2 where Ayanokoji and Manabu meet in the middle of the night, and at the end Ayanokoji says Manabu might lose. I said it was based on how Nagumo functions, but what if that's not the case? Because as Nagumo says, deep down, Manabu really never trusted him. What if Manabu knew Nagumo was up to something? What if Manabu knew Nagumo would go after someone he cares about, but was willing to lose anyways? What if the reason Ayanokoji said Manabu would lose, it's not because he didn't see Nagumo coming, but because Manabu isn't able to do what's needed? Like I said, the only way to get someone to withdraw is through injury. What if Ayanokoji analyzed Manabu's character and determined that an honorable person like Manabu, who leads by example, won't be able to stomach hurting Tachibana, even if it meant losing 20 million points? What if Manabu from the beginning knew that this is the choice he'd make? In Manabu's monologue, he specifically states, coming to this school, he had no goals. The only thing he cared about was being a role model, a beacon of light for those around him. The ideal leader. Would the ideal leader hurt someone they care about? Ayanokoji even said it's precisely because he's an outstanding and exemplary person that he got beaten by Nagumo. It wasn't a matter of what tactics they'd use, more so a matter of who Manabu is as a person. Again, this is all a thought, but wouldn't that be interesting? The camp ends and they return to school. It's now early February. Arisu's enjoying some coffee, while Masumi notices her handkerchief, and frankly, how ugly it was. Arisu laughed. Sure, it's simple, but there's meaning behind it. A story where we find out Ayanokoji and Arisu meeting in the sports festival might not be their first encounter. Let me explain. In her last year of middle school, Arisu goes to the beach, a place she's been to several times. She couldn't swim, so she settled for watching. The road for her is treacherous. Out of nowhere, the breeze takes away her hat. A gift from her father. She goes looking for the hat, but the heat got to her. She cursed her crippled state. Things like this are always so hard. She takes a breather on a bench and passes out due to the heat. When she wakes up, she feels a cool sensation by her neck. A handkerchief, brown, soaking wet, used to cool her down. And beside her hat was a water bottle, holding it down. As Arisu looks around, she sees the silhouette of a boy walking. She could tell he's her age. The boy left without asking for anything, not even a simple thank you. Arisu wondered if it was Ayanokoji that rescued her hat. She didn't recognize his back, but it's unlikely. But that boy reminds her of him. The thought of Ayanokoji awakens something within her. She wants to see the same sight she witnessed through the glass. She wants to hear his voice, touch him, and then break him. Arisu couldn't describe the urge that filled her heart, but she knew Ayanokoji held the answer. Arisu prayed to one day meet the boy who saved her. Now, was that Ayanokoji? I mean, Arisu straight up said it wasn't because she didn't recognize him, but it's super sus she thinks of him right after. I can see a reason. It's a straight parallel. Just like back then when the boy rescued her hat, Ayanokoji in a way also saved Arisu from the boredom she feels at school. To be honest, I haven't ruled out the fact that it can be Ayanokoji because this event happened in the third year of middle school. So maybe since Ayanokoji grew up, she couldn't tell it was him. Also, it's not like Ayanokoji was never allowed outside the White Room. He was, if you remember. That's when he escaped. Maybe there are other situations when he was allowed out. This is all speculation on my part. But once we get a good translation for Volume 0, we might find the answers there. And hey, if you want to know what happens in the next volume, it's gonna be here as soon as it's up.